Welcome to Friday Wins. Now, this is where I normally with my coach Casey club members, I share, I guess, what I've achieved this week in terms of training and the different methods of training I've used or the goals that I've set myself. And this week I'm going to do it sort of publicly. There's 4 or 5 sessions or 3 sessions I'm really proud of that have sort of upped my level of training and I want to share with people. And so I'm going to share my screen and open it up. And we're going to start with this one. This is probably the one I'm most stoked with, I guess. And basically, I'm going to sort of scroll down, but it's a session where I started here and finished here, time wise. So I didn't come off foil the entire time. But if you look at, I guess where I go on foil, so I'm going all the way upwind. I sort of scroll like this so you can see all the way upwind to here. Then I turn around this little island at Newport Reef and I come all the way back. Now, the reason I'm so stoked for this is because it was actually downwind training and really good downwind training because basically what happened was the bumps were going basically kind of this direction, southeast, but the wind was kind of this direction. So you can see how with the bumps going that way, I was kind of surfing. So basically like this, I was surfing the bumps right, but with the wind, I could do the same thing and surf the bumps left. So essentially on the way up the coast, I was surfing this direction and it was actually a fair bit easier. And when I went around the island on the inside and back, I was surfing the same bumps, but I was surfing them this direction. So it was a bit harder on the way because of the wind direction. But I guess I was also using these bumps that were kind of like this, and I was surfing these bumps this direction. So whilst the wind was pushing me in towards shore, the traversing that I could achieve from this east wind, 10 knots was probably about right. Probably the windiest. It was probably 8 to 10 knots, I'd call it. I could go both ways. And this is obviously done on a big foil. And for me to get, what was the total distance? Scroll to the end. So it was like an hour and a half session. And I got, here are the stats. Hour and 42. Foiling time was about an hour and a half, give or take. But I was the fact I could go essentially crosswind and then back crosswind was what blew my mind. And it just showed that the conditions that we have here on the East Coast can be, very fickle at times, but they can also be really good. And it's one of those sessions where I was just planning to do loops like this because it was an east wind. It was good to go out along the headland, then back in. But because of the wind direction, I could go out and back. And you can see how, looking at the track, it was faster on the way out than it was on the way back until I turned the corner. You can see about, there. I turn the corner and my speeds get more and my heart rate drops. So heart rate super high on the way there, and then I drop and then I go a little bit of upwind at the end coming back from DY. But yeah, it was a super fun session and something that I want to recreate. I even get it done tomorrow with the east wind, light east winds. So if you want to try to do something like this, don't just start small, but light onshore winds, small wind swell, and you can kind of traverse one way or the other. Super fun. The second one, this is more common to what I do, and we had winds out of the southeast, so this direction, and basically there was a little bit of swell sort of pushing in, so I was surfing the swells up and down, sort of surfing into the wind, and then I'd pump out, and you can see I was kind of pumping in. I didn't want to pump into the wind, so I was sort of going across the wind, kind of like you'd zig and zag, and then I'd pump out and I'd ride the downwind section all the way down the coast, down the beach, and I'd go back to surfing. So combination of bumps, waves, and a bit of sort of pumping into the wind. But again, one of these sessions that I'm super stoked on. I think the training for foiling in the water, it's a really good one to get fitter. You can start to see the spikes. That's when I was going downwind, and then it's a few waves at the end. They got on the inside here, and you can see the upwind sections are much harder. And yeah, so these sections are the highest heart rate because you're literally pumping into the wind Again, it shows your best speeds and heart rate, all that sort of all the details. This one was a bit of a different one. So when I started off, the wind was going this direction, and basically used a bit too small a foil and got stuck at a reef here, got out, and then downwinded down the coast. The wind went south about here, and so I sort of came down and came back up and got a few waves here, and then the sublift change moved in. I paddled out, and the wind got super strong this direction, and like almost instantly the bumps were there. Well, I waited 10, 15 minutes and the bumps got really good, but then massive sort of thunderstorm came through, and I waited for it, tried to wait for it to pass here, waited again for it to pass there, and then sort of came in the tail between the legs. A few of the local boys did the same thing, but from further up the coast, and finished here and sort of waited for the storm to pass and went down, which was a much better option. But it was pretty cool to go out and back. And basically you can see the theme here, shuttleless downwinders, definitely a bit of work and a bit of planning, but out and backs, loops, traversing in an easterly, all super fun and a good way for train. The other way I trained this week was testing a bit of gear, and basically I walked out to the point, jumped off, paddled across, and then downwinded. You can see the wind direction here, so I was downwinding across. Would do a section here at the beginning, then I'd stop, go upwind, and then do another section at the end. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 laps, testing a few foils and just getting a few laps in again without a shuttle. Finally, this is a session this afternoon, just some flat water paddle ups, and again, just testing the speeds of a few foils. And paddle ups, you can see sort of recreating the same thing. So basically using, stats from water speed to look at how fast or slow foils can go, and testing them in, downwind sort of conditions, but also flat water conditions. So my plan for the week coming is to actually do something really similar. Tomorrow there's an easterly. I want to try doing out and back, and then there's more winds, and I want to try to basically upwind while the wind's a bit lighter, and then when the wind really kicks in, come back down. Obviously, this is on bigger foils. If I want to just do a really good downwind, a straight downwind, it's going to have to be a small foil. It's very hard to have a really fun downwind, but also go upwind. The only time if the wind changes, you can do that, but if the wind sort of just stays the same and builds, it's much more difficult. But they're my wins for this week. So some cool sort of, I call them downwind loops or downwind laps rather than a full downwinder, because I haven't had time, and the conditions haven't been awesome. They've been good, but not awesome. And to be able to do, 3 sessions where I got like an hour plus on foil going out, back, or round and round, gets me kind of excited for other formats of foil racing in the ocean or in the bumps. So they're my Friday wins for this week. I encourage everyone to push themselves within the Coach Casey Club. I always encourage people to push themselves to think of different ways to train and to test their gear and to basically get the most out of their equipment, rather than just buying the next thing because the big brands told you to. Get the most out of your equipment, get the most out of your training. That's the best way to get better at your own foiling. So that's Friday wins for this week for the Coach Casey Club. I'll try to share them every now and then, but normally these Friday wins are kept internal to Coach Casey Club members. So thanks everyone for listening, and I'll speak to you next time.